Welcome everybody. UFC 245 post-game fight conference. Let's go.
What's going on? We're recapping UFC 245. We're going to go over what's next for the UFC. We're going to talk about what's next for the fighters. We're going to talk about tonight's event. This is Rambo. I'm Pabst, PBR, whatever you want to call me. Let's get into it. First, we're going to start with Chase Hooper versus Daniel Tamer. Chase Hooper is an up-and-comer, 20 years old, tall, lanky, over 6 foot, weighs in light, skinny as hell.
Yeah, seeing like someone who doesn't really watch UFC, seeing him like up against the guy he was playing, like the height difference, just he looked lengthy. Like what's that? It's from a movie like Grangly Foot or whatever, like a tree stump or whatever you want to call it. It was insane to kind of watch. He used a lot of his body just to like cover the dude throughout the fight.
Takeaways from that fight was Chase Hooper had a nice range. He's from the Contender Series. So what he did differently than Tamer to negate his striking was he used his body, he used his length, he had a good chin. What I noticed when he had him against the fence, his control was really good. When he had Tamer in that choke later on in the fight, Tamer's face was starting to get purple, but you could tell Tamer possibly was just really flexing his neck, so that could have been why his face was so purple. But just ground control seemed to be significantly better than Tamer's. Tamer has an older relative in the UFC that is actually a pretty good fighter, but it just seemed like Hooper's the real deal, I guess. He's going to be pretty good in the UFC. So, anything else you want to add on that?
I think he's still undefeated.
Even
though this was his first actual UFC debut technically, but on his record card it showed that he was undefeated at 8-0 before he started the fight. Now he's 9-0.
Yep, really good, really entertaining kid. He'll probably, he's got 12 to 15 years to really experience, get better. So going on, we're going to talk about Matt Brown versus Ben Saunders. Ben Saunders has been getting worn out a little bit. Getting a little bit used up, tired out over the years. He's a good fighter. He had a really good rubber guard. Matt Brown was a huge favorite. Minus 336 to a plus 294. Matt Brown was coming out of retirement. He had an ACL injury and was coming back out of that. He looked phenomenal. I think the only way he would have been finished was either from that triangle, which was a boring round in the beginning, or he could have been finished via a body strike, but the odds of Saunders getting in for a body strike were pretty minimal without getting clapped. So we both had money on Mike Brown. I'm sure most people did have money on him. The DraftKings, it was surprising. Only 33% of people in DraftKings picked Ben Saunders only 33% of people picked Matt Brown to win. Wow. So, any take on that one?
All I know is like he was part of a little parlay I had for betting wise, I guess. But Matt Brown coming out, it looked like that he had more technique than his opponent, and just pretty much dominated from. Even at the ring.
Saunders was doing. Saunders had that rubber guard in the second or third round? I can't remember, but he had the rubber guard, but the rubber guard wasn't doing anything. He was just basically negating some strikes from Brown, and eventually Brown sealed the deal. So that was a good win of money, easy money. A little scary in the first round, but
a little bit.
For all of you guys tuning in, we're just here to give you a little bit of the post-fight analysis, talk about the betting, talk about what's next for the UFC before the post-fight press conference in the UFC tonight. So going forward, we're going to talk about Ian Heinisch versus Amari Akhmedov. I had money on Ian Heinisch tonight. He's an up-and-comer. Akhmedov is a very good fighter. I've actually had money on Akhmedov in his last fight. Pretty interesting. Heinisch, I thought, displayed an awful game plan. He got kind of tired and sloppy towards the end. Even at the very end of the fight, he threw a flying knee with his hands by his hips. It was awful. So throughout the fight, he kind of went through some takedowns in the third round that I didn't like. He seemed to be indecisive with his takedowns. with about a minute and a half left, it seemed like he could have taken Akhmedov down to the ground, and he switched his body weight over, and Akhmedov stood right up where he could have taken the back, which I didn't like. Just a really sloppy performance where Akhmedov really had a good first round, and he seemed to tire out over the second and third. But I really don't think either of them performed the way they should. Take on that one?
I'm just glad I didn't place much, if any, money on Ian during that fight. I didn't watch much of the fight to begin with. My two main people were Brown and Amanda Nunes. So, like, those were my go-tos this evening.
A little bit of background. I'm a big UFC guy. I watched probably over 100 pay-per-views. He's a newbie. He's probably watched about 10 pay-per-views.
So big.
But I've been watching a lot of the fights over the years.
Went to my first one in Minneapolis, though, recently, earlier this year, and it was pretty cool.
Yep, we watched Francis Ngannou versus Junior Dos Santos. That was a great fight. That whole card was pretty exciting. We sat next to a giant group of Brazilian crowds. They were all pretty crazy. The whole crowd, if you guys have ever been to the UFC fights, do the Ric Flair.
I highly recommend at least seeing one if you haven't been to one.
Yeah, they do Ric Flair the whole time. And then some guy got Jerry Springered out of the crowd, some woman yelling at her kid. It's a big Reddit story. But anyway, moving forward, we're going to talk about Ketlin Vieira versus Irene Aldana. We had Vieira, or I had Ketlin in the fight. Really what I was worried about when I bet on her was that she had a lengthy midsection, which I was worried about her getting hit. They both seemed kind of inexperienced, even though they were higher leveled opponents. Aldana, I didn't think was going to get a knockout like that, but it was a beautiful left hand. Can't complain, I guess, but they both seemed a little sloppy, maybe. Not their best performances tonight. Any take on that one? If you remember it,
yeah,
we're pretty drunk.
So, I mean, my take from that fight especially was like that fight. There were so many shots to the midsection than any other fight that night, tonight that happened tonight. I think in my mind, like they just took shots to that midsection the entire fight that they had.
Ketlin was a minus 167 favorite. Irene was a plus 153 underdog. It was a pretty close fight. Irene pulled it off. She gave a really good post-fight interview. I think she'll do pretty good in the future. I don't think she'll be a champion anytime soon. It's obvious also that Amanda is a fucking beast. So excuse my language. Amanda Nunes. Dude. I don't see anyone after beating Jermaine. I didn't really think Jermaine would win. I don't think anyone did. She had a really good puncher's chance. Very good striker. I knew she would beat Aspen Ladd. She knocked her out. But fighting Amanda is a different animal. And I don't think anyone in the next...
She's an animal.
Anyone in the next 6-7 rankings have a chance against Amanda. Maybe Holly Holm. That's the only one. Going forward, we'll talk about... Do you have something to add there? Sorry.
Oh, it was fun. It was fun watching Amanda Nunes. It's all like.
Oh, we'll get there.
Okay, all right.
We're almost there.
All right, big boy.
Next one. All right, Mike Platinum Perry versus Jeffrey Neal. I had my money on Mike Perry. I wanted to bet the underdog. He was a plus 221. Jeffrey was a minus 249. Jeffrey's a big up-and-comer. He is very fit, very in shape, very good striker. Mike Perry's 100%. He pretty much throws it in the whole time and takes you to the grave, or he goes out swinging. To me, Mike seemed to be a little bit more relaxed. He was fighting like he wanted to fight a 3-round fight. It was pretty disappointing to see Neal just put him away right away. Neal's last fight against Nico Price didn't seem to display any good ground game skills, so I was really banking on Mike Perry displaying some good ground game if Geoff took it to the ground. Geoff didn't need to take it to the ground. He kept it composed. He kind of sucked in Perry, finished him off. He was actually pushing the pace most of the time, but I don't know. I just think he's a real top sixer, probably, I would say. I don't know anything on that fight. You didn't have money on that one.
No,
So
I didn't have any money on that fight. So I don't have much of a comment, I suppose, regarding that fight. Just
yeah, it was a little bit of money lost. That's okay. All right, we're gonna move forward. We're gonna talk about Uriah Faber. Uriah Faber versus Pete Yan. I had Peter. I had money on Uriah. I'm a hardcore,
Uriah
old
fan.
school guy. Uriah, Aldo, Cowboy. We'll see what happens. I like all the old fighters.
Yeah.
Uriah, I thought might be able to grind it down to a decision. That fight was freaking intense. One of the best fights of the night.
Oh yeah.
Peter is definitely the real deal.
Yeah.
I'll let you expand first what you thought of the fight, and then.
You're talking about this 40-year-old, right?
Yep. What'd you think?
Goddamn.
Were you excited? You didn't have money on it.
No, I didn't, but it was amazing. He explained earlier tonight that this guy came out of retirement and he was just for a 40-year-old. I think he was up against someone who was 14 or 15 years younger than him, and he just came out and like you could tell like you knew he could compete with like endurance, like he had the same amount of probably endurance as this younger dude and like could compete. It's just, I mean, kind of technique I suppose maybe seemed the same too, but I mean the speed was just as good with his hits, with blocking, with everything, and it seemed like he just came up short on like getting knockouts or getting final blows or just getting him to the ground or anything, like actually getting a good hit in, I suppose you might say. But I don't know. I mean, like he could keep up in the fight and with everything. Like it's just I don't know how to explain that. Just it was fun to watch, I guess. Yeah, it's pretty fun to watch.
You might want to nudge up the quality while we're doing this if you can. Seems like we're getting some comments, but and it also is giving us a message. I don't know if it'll let us, but my takeaway from Uriah vs. Peter was it was freaking exhilarating. I thought it was awesome. I had a lot of money on Uriah. He was a huge underdog, plus 440 to a minus 410. I think by the end of the night he was a plus 500, or no, he was a plus 430, I think, and then like Peter was probably around a minus 500, which is insane. Peter did his job. He looked composed the whole time. Uriah took it to him, was landing some good shots. He had a little bit of a hematoma in his lower eye, or I think it was his lower left eye, but he seemed to be fine. His lower left eye wasn't really obstructed at all. Took some good shots. It was just actually just a really good composed finish, so I think that guy will be a pretty good fighter in the future. And moving forward, we're getting into the big leagues, boys. The main events. We're about to talk about the main four. We're gonna go into Aldo tonight. Apparently,
Someone commented about the quality of the meme of this video being low. So, way to point that out. Yeah, had the bit rate really low as fuck actually, and thanks for pointing that out. I appreciate it.
yeah. All right.
Chill. Your name's Chill. Damn. Thank you for the comment.
Next, we're talking about Jose Aldo versus Marlon Moraes. Jose Aldo dropped down 10 pounds. Looked cut as hell during the weight cut. He looked exhausted but fit. I was very worried. I didn't put any money on this fight. I'm a huge Aldo fan. I've seen him live twice. I think he looked good. I think when he mentioned he's been thinking about considering going into the boxing realm, he's really been focused on training the hands, which his leg kicks are his bread and butter. I really think he should have destroyed the legs. I think he should have kicked the lead leg of Marlon all night long. Moraes had a few good combinations. Aldo seemed confident in pushing the pace and tiring him. I think in a 5-round fight it would have been good. He seemed to be doing okay with the strikes. but Marlon had some really good combinations, and Aldo didn't decide to throw any kicks. I don't know if he hasn't been training those since he's been focusing on boxing. My main takeaway from that was it was crazy to me that when Holloway fought tonight, he got his legs destroyed by Volkanovski, and it was disappointing to think that Aldo over 2 fights could have destroyed Holloway's legs, arguably with better kicks, and didn't. So, what do you think of that fight?
Well, that fight lasted 5 rounds.
Three rounds. Yep, all 3 rounds.
I don't know, Max Holloway, yeah, the leg kicks killed him. Or the leg kicks, I think, gave away the title there at the end. Or I don't know if that's, I can't remember. Was it?
It wasn't a title fight. It was a first round contender.
Or wasn't it? But it was like, I'm trying to think. Were those 2 fights or 2 out of those 3 fights were pretty close decisions?
Yep. Yeah, the judges were very interesting tonight. Aldo pushed the pace the whole time.
Yeah.
Successful. He took a couple of combinations from Moraes, so I guess, yeah. The story of the night was, don't let, in these bigger fights, in these Las Vegas sanctions, you might not want to let the judges take it to the scorecard because you might lose.
Yeah, there were a lot of underdogs that won.
Especially if Covington would have made it to the 5th round, you never know. I was interested to see what the judges would have scored it. I'm sure once the judges will release it tomorrow or something, what they had it scored, that'll be pretty interesting. But yeah, we will go forward to your big money maker tonight for you. I didn't have any money on this fight. I figured Amanda Nunes would win, but the odds were crazy. Amanda Nunes versus Germaine de Randamie. She was about what? What was it at the end of the night? Maybe a minus 420?
Yeah, so I placed some bet. I placed a wager or whatever with her already winning. What was it, negative 310 yesterday? And about an hour, a couple hours even before she started her fight, the odds were negative 420 right before she started her fight. So it was a pretty good lock for her to win, and definitely showed it tonight. Even though her TKO potential is there. It lasted the entire 5 rounds, but she clearly dominated all 5 rounds. Got scary there. I can't remember exactly what round it was, but
I believe in round 4, Germaine de Randamie landed a really good up kick.
Yeah.
When we were watching, the camera view on that triangle looked fucking deep.
Yeah.
It was kind of like an arm triangle. It looked like Germaine de Randamie had cinched it up a little bit. When they showed the camera angle afterward, shit wasn't there.
No. It was scary. It looked like, she was about to get fucked, but she didn't, and ended up getting the win. So
Amanda seemed very comfortable the whole fight. Rambo over here seemed a little bit on edge. She really felt comfortable with the takedowns. I think the only way Amanda's getting beaten, I don't see her getting beaten by any of the top 5 right now, except maybe Holly Holm would give her a run for her money, but I doubt it. I think the only way Amanda gets beat is by a knockout or a TKO.
And getting too cocky.
Smiling too much. She smiles constantly. Having too much of a good time in there. She needs to stay relaxed but keep it composed. She did a good job tonight, but she needs to quit smiling and taking everything emotionally. She's kind of an emotional fighter. Germaine took it to her, almost landed a few up kicks, landed a few strikes. Amanda dominated her. Germaine obviously doesn't have a even near ground game as far as jiu-jitsu goes. I don't know about Amanda's wrestling, but I imagine that's better too. Just all in all, her ground game was dominative. Aspen Ladd's in the top 5. I think if she fights Amanda, Amanda's gonna freaking destroy her. So there's no one to fight Amanda right now. Maybe that boxer they show in the crowd. We'll see. Going from there.
What 20? It said 2012. Like she's a 2012 Olympic boxing champion. I think is what it was.
Yeah.
When they pull it up on the screen.
Oh my God. No. All right, going to the next part. What do we got here? We got freaking Max Holloway versus Alexander Volkanovski. The fight of the night, probably as far as like an upset. I think the complete domination Volkanovski displayed was insane. Do you want to get kicked in the leg by a short, stouty man?
No, dude, that would have killed even the best of people. I think like that destroyed him.
What'd you pick up?
Even though like that wasn't his. Like you could tell, like that's not what either opponent was really focused on. Maybe during the fight, like they were just focused on doing their fight. But when Volk would just keep throwing in those leg kicks, right? Every
over 60.
Yeah. Well, but it didn't seem like 60, right? It just seemed like, but you noticed it. It's something like you're like, goddamn. And then it just makes the fight easier, I would say, I suppose, for Volk, right? Like it makes him come off more dominant. And I mean, yeah, he did dominate, right? So
Max Holloway got completely fucking smashed round 2 and 3. I think his leg, when he switched to southpaw, or when he switched stances, it just continually got worse and worse for him. I think Holloway had to do what he could by staying with his regular stance in the 5th round. I think Holloway did everything he could do, but the leg swelling just negated everything. Maybe Holloway could have went for a takedown, but Volkanovski just showed complete dominance.
Could he have gotten into a takedown?
It was disgusting for me to watch him destroy, knowing that Aldo could have done the same thing and probably destroyed Holloway, but he didn't. So, any other takeaways from that one? Volkanovski was an underdog. Anyone who bet on him won probably about $225 for every $100 bet. So he was a good underdog if anyone picked him.
Yeah. I don't have much else to say. Just Volk dominated that fight, and it was pretty fun to watch. Actually, I know if I ever got into a fight in real life, right? Like go for leg kicks, especially like just go for leg kicks, and then cover your face like a bro.
Unless you're fighting a wrestler,
then
you just turn and run. All right. Going into the main event, we have two beasts, Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman. I will let you do the honors. Who were you going for? What did you think of the first couple rounds? Rate the fight 1 out of 10.
On Colby?
Who were you going for? First of all.
Oh, I wasn't going for Colby. I know that.
You were going for Kamaru Usman?
Yeah. But
rank the fight 1 out of 10. What do you think?
Probably a 7.
7? All right.
7.
All right.
7.
I was going for Colby Covington. I hated him for years. And you know what? I'm a huge Chael fan. I finally gave in and just figured, fuck it. I'll follow this. His attempt at the gimmick is kind of a little bit shittier than Chael's, but I love it now. I think it's fucking awesome. I think that fight was fucking spectacularly close. The matchup is insane. 5 rounds is what we needed.
Yeah. I
think 3 rounds would have been too short. We got to display 0 wrestling. It was all striking. Colby max output 80 strikes the first 2 rounds, landed, and then Usman started taking off from there. I think Usman looked really good towards the end of the fight. Any take from there? What you saw, things that you think Colby could have done differently? Colby being the one who lost.
Yep. I don't know, I mean, Colby's main game, right, is to get opponents on the ground, I suppose, right? And unable to do that. So, gets to take the full brunt of being a bitch. Oh, wait, did I say that out loud?
I thought you were going for Kobe earlier. My take on it was they're both such good wrestlers. They both had to put the fight in. Usman's a way more technical striker. He lands, like you said earlier, 2 out of 3 pretty much he's landing in his combinations. If he landed his third, he'd be probably
just be over.
KOing him.
You'd think, right?
Kobe has max output. One of the most outputting fighters I've ever seen. Possibly had his jaw broken in the 3rd round. So Usman couldn't put him away. Kobe kept going. Those body strikes. It was interesting because Usman was nailing Kobe in the opposite side of the liver, so probably the appendix side. Wasn't doing. Obviously, he was doing significant damage. If it was the liver side, he probably would have been finished already. But with that broken jaw, I almost feel like that opened up the body so much. Kobe probably knew he had a fucked up jaw, so once he got hit in the stomach the first or second time, it pretty much fucked him for the rest of the fight. He couldn't put his output out as much as he wanted to. He had a really good flicking jab, I would say. Like his jab was pretty good throughout the fight. His uppercut, when he threw a left into the right-handed uppercut, I really liked that. Usman had a really good just normal jab the whole fight. Anything you saw that you liked or thought could have been changed, or?
No, I mean, yeah, it was a pretty fun fight to watch. That's all. Like, someone who doesn't really watch UFC too much. Yeah, I was standing up. I was looking at the screen. I was like, goddamn, shit, oh my god.
Yeah, Covington clearly likes putting his. He kind of was covering his, covering his cheek the whole fucking night. It was interesting, which I wish he wouldn't have been doing. I wish he would have kept it lower.
Like, would give away the jaw, right?
I wish he would have kept it more, more mysterious, probably for Usman. Also, I thought maybe since Covington was losing the 4th and 5th rounds, Covington probably should have went for a feint in to possibly take down Usman. The nut kick Kobe did was bullshit. I don't think he kicked Usman in the nuts at all. The eye poke was obviously there. The eye poke break was a good call. Other than that, that pretty much wraps it.
Yeah.
Should we let these fuckers watch the post-fight press conference tonight, or?
Yeah, we're going to throw the ball back into your guys' court and send her away. We're going to send it.
Yeah.
Send it!
Thanks for watching Ramo and Pabst. Have a good night, boys. New Age Outlaws here. Basketball boy over here.
Don't forget to
see you next time.